Imagine this. You're sitting in a café, the sound of conversations around you forming a background ambiance, when you notice a woman on the other side of the counter. For a moment, your eyes meet. She sustains the gaze for a few seconds, flashes, a smile, and almost absent-mindedly plays with her hair. The moment seems charged with meaning, but you hesitate. Is this a sign of interest, or just a casual gesture? Before you can decide, she looks away, and the opportunity slips away. Does this sound familiar? This doubt about the other person's intentions is something we all face at some point, and the answer, often, lies hidden in the gestures we never learn to interpret. In this video, we're going to unravel the fascinating silent code of female body language. More than 60% of human communication is nonverbal, but without realizing it, we let vital signals pass us by that could completely transform our interactions. After all, small gestures can translate into big messages. And no, this isn't about guesses or clichés. We're talking about science, patterns, signals that the body emits unconsciously, and that you'll learn to identify today. But before we dive into the details, let me make you a promise. What you'll learn here isn't just a tool for flirting. It's something that will improve all your social interactions. So get ready. Every second you spend with us will be like connecting the pieces of a social puzzle. Let's get started. Before we begin interpreting signals, we need to understand the basics. What is body language and why is it so crucial? Let's put this into perspective. Every time you interact with someone, especially in emotional or romantic contexts, your body is emitting signals that speak as loudly, or sometimes even louder, than your words. Scientific studies show that 55% of all human communication is nonverbal. Only 7% is related to the words you use, and 38% to the tone of your voice. But it's your body that dominates the conversation. That's why female body language can seem like a mystery to many. Small gestures, like tilting the head, crossing the arms, or even the way a person positions themselves in relation to you, form a complex web of silent communication. And one of the most fascinating aspects of this is something called micro-expressions. You might never have heard of them, but they're tiny facial movements, so quick they last less than half a second, and yet reveal intense emotions, like interest, tension, or discomfort. Even the most experienced people at hiding feelings can't completely control these micro-expressions. They're basically a reflection of our emotional mind. An interesting fact, did you know that some of these signals aren't even conscious? Often, a woman who's interested initiates certain gestures, like touching her own hair or adjusting her clothes, without realizing she's communicating something. This happens due to brain reflexes, which are naturally programmed to attract attention in situations where there's a growing emotional connection. Ready to start deciphering these signals in practice? Let's explore the 5 most common and most misunderstood gestures you can start observing today. Now that we understand the importance of body language and how it works, it's time to dive into the 5 most common signals that women can transmit without saying a word. These gestures are subtle and often misinterpreted, but when observed in the right context, they can paint a fascinating picture about someone's interest or intention. Let's practice reading these silent messages, and I'm sure at least one of these signals has happened to you. This is one of the most classic signs, and perhaps the most observed, but also the most misinterpreted. When a woman touches her hair, adjusts the strands, or passes her hands over her face during an interaction, it can demonstrate nervousness mixed with attraction. It's as if her body is saying, "I want your attention now." But there's an interesting detail. Often, this gesture isn't intentional. It can be triggered by the brain's excitement system, an unconscious response to a stimulus she finds attractive or interesting. However, it's essential to observe the context. For example, environments like dates can amplify the intention of the gesture. On the other hand, if she's in a relaxed moment and away from the conversation, it might just be an automatic behavior. The secret is to synchronize. If the hair touch comes accompanied by other signals from the list, it's likely she's trying to connect with you. Eye contact is incredibly powerful. Studies show that when two people maintain eye contact for longer than usual, the feeling of emotional connection increases, and this doesn't happen by chance. When a woman sustains direct eye contact, it shows confidence, engagement, and even flirting. Now, if this gaze turns into a sudden deviation, it can be an instinctive game to provoke tension. Imagine this. You're at a dinner. She looks you straight in the eyes before deviating, smiling slightly. This smile and the quick deviation usually mean interest, combined with a dose of vulnerability. It's as if she's saying, "Now it's your turn to react." But be careful. A gaze without emotion or deviated without context can, however, mean disinterest. This is probably one of the most important signals you can observe. Body alignment. When someone is genuinely interested in you, their body, almost like a radar equipment, centers and directs itself towards you. This means that the torso, feet, and even the angle of the face are pointed towards you. Here's a tip. Even in a group, you can identify who she's most connected to by observing where her feet are pointing. If they're directed towards you during a conversation, it indicates focus and interest. On the other hand, a body inclined or oriented towards another person can mean inattention or disconnection. Have you ever noticed when someone touches your arm, shoulder, or hand during a conversation and think, was it intentional? Often the answer is yes, but in an unexpectedly subtle way. Touch is one of the most direct tools in body language. It's a physical invitation to create intimacy and break social barriers, even if in a brief and apparently trivial manner. For example, if during a conversation she puts her hand on your shoulder while responding or touches your hand while laughing at something, it rarely is just a coincidence. Usually, these gestures come accompanied by other signals from the list to strengthen the message. But be attentive. If the touch is exaggerated or invasive, it might just be part of her personality and not an intentional gesture of connection. There's something irresistibly magnetic when someone reveals a corner smile or a light bite on the lower lip. These gestures create mystery, seduction, and call attention in a subtle way. Psychologists can explain this phenomenon as a reflection of physical attraction in moments of vulnerability. For example, the lip bite is a classic gesture of emotional tension, an unconscious way to release energy or anxiety. Emotionally, it's a message that mixes interest and expectation, especially if combined with eye contact or physical approach. The corner smile is a gesture that seems to say, "I know something you don't know yet." It's intriguing, and it's exactly what she might be trying to take advantage of. These 5 signals, observed individually, can already provide clues about someone's intentions, but the crucial point is the ability to recognize them together. It's like assembling the pieces of a puzzle. A single gesture may not mean much, but when combined with others, it starts to paint a complete picture. But what about context? Do these signals mean the same thing in all situations or cultures? And what to do when the message seems confusing? Don't worry. In the next chapter, we'll enter the fascinating world of cultural and social influences on body language. You'll discover why these gestures don't always mean the same thing in different contexts. Are you ready? Now that you already know the main signs of interest in female body language, it's time to add a crucial layer to our understanding: context. The interpretation of these gestures can vary significantly depending on the environment and culture you're in. Let's explore how these variations can affect the reading of signals and how you can adjust your perception for different situations. Imagine you're in New York, a city known for its fast pace and direct communication. Here, prolonged eye contact is often seen as a clear sign of interest or engagement. In a date, if a woman maintains eye contact fixed on you, it's likely she's really interested in the conversation and in you. However, if you try to replicate this behavior in Tokyo, you might have a surprise. In Japan, direct eye contact can be considered invasive or disrespectful, especially in initial interactions. People tend to avoid looking directly into the eyes as a way to show respect and modesty. In the United States itself, social norms can vary considerably from one region to another. For example, in the South, interactions can be warmer and involve more physical contact, even among acquaintances. A touch on the arm or a hug can be a friendly gesture. In contrast, on the West Coast, especially in cities like San Francisco, people can be more reserved and maintain a greater distance, valuing personal space. Let's also consider the environment. In a relaxed party, signals can be more evident and direct. People are more relaxed, and signs of interest are easier to identify. However, in a work environment or a formal event, these same gestures can be much more subtle. A woman might not want her colleagues to notice her interest, so the signals will be more discreet. Perhaps a quick glance, a timid smile, or a light touch on the arm during Another important factor is the specific social context. In a bar or club, where the goal is to socialize, signs of interest can be more evident and frequent. But in a family gathering or a professional setting, the same actions can have completely different meanings. For example, a friendly smile and a touch on the shoulder in a work environment can be gestures of support and camaraderie, not necessarily romantic interest. The key to correctly interpreting body language is to be sensitive to context and culture. It's not just about recognizing the signals, but about understanding the environment in which they're being emitted. This requires careful observation and an open mind. Ask yourself, does this gesture make sense in this context? What else is happening around that may influence this interaction? Now that you know the main signs of interest in female body language and how context influences their interpretation, it's time to apply this knowledge in practice. Remember, the ability to interpret body language is a powerful tool that can transform your interactions and open new opportunities for connection. Are you ready to learn how to identify these signals more accurately? In the next chapter, we'll talk about how to recognize patterns and consistencies in body language to avoid these errors. Continue watching to become an expert in deciphering signals with confidence. Interpreting body language isn't just about observing isolated gestures, but about identifying patterns and consistencies. A single gesture can be ambiguous, but when several signals align, you start to see a clear picture of her intentions. Let's dive into the art of deciphering these patterns and understanding how they connect. Think of body language as a puzzle. Each gesture is a piece, and when you combine several pieces, the image begins to form. Let's review some practical examples to illustrate how to recognize these patterns. Imagine you're on a date. The woman in front of you touches her hair while talking, maintains prolonged eye contact, and her posture is directly oriented towards you. Isolated, each of these gestures can be interpreted in various ways. However, when combined, they form a clear pattern of interest. The hair touch can be a gesture of nervousness or flirting. The prolonged eye contact shows engagement, and the posture oriented towards you indicates focus and attention. Together, these signals paint a picture of someone who is interested and involved in the interaction. Another example. You're at a party and notice a woman smiling at you, lightly touching your arm while talking and leaning towards you. These gestures, observed together, indicate a desire for closeness and connection. You decide to approach and start a conversation, maintaining a respectful and attentive attitude towards her signals. If at any point you perceive she's uncomfortable, you adjust your approach immediately. To identify these patterns, it's essential to pay attention to the frequency and consistency of the gestures. If she repeats certain behaviors throughout the interaction, it reinforces the message. For example, if she touches your arm several times during the conversation, it's a stronger signal than a single isolated touch. Similarly, if she maintains constant eye contact and smiles frequently, it indicates continuous interest. Additionally, observe how her gestures align with what's being said. Body language should complement verbal communication. If she's talking about something that excites her and her gestures reflect that excitement, it's a good sign that the communication is aligned. Here are some tips to help you identify these patterns. Observe repetition. Gestures that repeat throughout the interaction are more significant. Seek consistency. Body language should be consistent with the tone and content of the conversation. Connect the gestures. Combine multiple signals to form a clear pattern. Be patient. Sometimes, patterns can take time to reveal themselves. Don't rush to conclusions. Recognizing patterns in body language is a skill that develops with practice and attentive observation. In the next chapter, we'll talk about how to use this skill with respect and empathy, ensuring that your interactions are always positive and comfortable for both parties. Continue watching to learn how to decipher signals with ethics and sensitivity. Now that you know how to identify patterns in body language, it's crucial to understand that this skill should be used with respect and empathy. Interpreting signals shouldn't be a tool for manipulation or pressure, but rather for creating genuine and respectful connections. First, remember that each person is unique and may have different ways of expressing interest. What works for one person may not work for another. Therefore, it's essential to approach each interaction with an open mind and a respectful attitude. Reading body language should be a way to improve comai. Let's consider a practical example. You notice a woman showing several signs of interest. She touches your arm, maintains eye contact, and smiles frequently. Even though all the signals point to mutual interest, it's essential to validate this in a direct and respectful way. You can do this through clear and gentle verbal communication. A simple comment like, "I'm really enjoying our conversation," and you can help confirm your interpretations without being invasive. Another crucial point is to respect boundaries. Even if you interpret the signals as positive, always give space for the other person to feel comfortable. Don't pressure or advance beyond what's appropriate. Communication should be reciprocal and based on the comfort of both parties. If at any point you perceive discomfort, adjust your approach immediately. Here are some tips to ensure you're deciphering signals with respect. Validate your interpretations. Use verbal communication to confirm your understandings. Respect personal space. Maintain a comfortable distance and observe the other person's reactions. Be sensitive to discomfort signals. If you perceive any sign of discomfort, adjust your approach immediately. Communicate with empathy. Show genuine interest and respect for the other person's emotions and boundaries. Using the skill of interpreting body language with empathy and respect not only improves your interactions, but also creates an environment of trust and comfort. In the next chapter, we'll tie all these concepts together and show how you can apply these skills to transform your social and romantic interactions. Continue watching to become a true expert in deciphering signals. We've reached the moment to tie all the concepts we've discussed so far. You've already learned about the most common signs in female body language, the importance of context, the dangers of misinterpreting signals, and how to identify patterns with respect and empathy. Now let's see how to apply these skills in practice to transform your social and romantic interactions. First, remember that observation is the key. Always be attentive to the nonverbal signals the other person is emitting. Combine these signals with the context and verbal communication to get a complete picture of the interaction. This not only helps you understand the other person's intentions and emotions better, but also makes your interactions more genuine and engaging. Let's review a practical example. You're on a date and notice the woman in front of you touching her hair, maintaining prolonged eye contact, and smiling frequently. These signals, when observed together, indicate genuine interest. You decide to validate your interpretations in a respectful way, saying something like, "I'm really enjoying our conversation." And you? This direct and gentle approach confirms your interpretations and creates an environment of trust and comfort. Another example, you're at a party and notice a woman smiling at you, lightly touching your arm while talking, and leaning towards you. These gestures, observed together, indicate a desire for closeness and connection. You decide to approach and start a conversation, maintaining a respectful and attentive attitude towards her signals. If at any point you perceive she's uncomfortable, you adjust your approach immediately. Here are some final tips to apply these skills effectively. Practice observation. Always be attentive to nonverbal signals and combine them with the context. Communicate clearly and gently. Use verbal communication to validate your interpretations and create a comfortable environment. Respect boundaries. Maintain a comfortable distance and adjust your approach as necessary. Be empathetic. Show genuine interest and respect for the other person's emotions and boundaries. These skills not only improve your social and romantic interactions, but also help you communicate more effectively in all areas of your life. The ability to interpret body language with precision and respect is a powerful tool that can transform your relationships and open new opportunities for connection. Now that you have all these tools at your disposal, are you ready to apply what you've learned and transform your interactions forever? Remember, practice leads to perfection. Continue observing, learning, and adjusting your approach as necessary. And above all, always communicate with respect and empathy. Did you like this content? Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with that friend who always ignores the signals. And stay tuned, as I'll be leaving more videos for you to stay updated. Let's consider a practical example. You notice a woman showing several signs of interest. She touches your arm, maintains